Hello, in this video, I'll introduce you and show you with specific examples of how to use destructuring in JavaScript. By the end of this video, you should understand the concept of destructuring in JavaScript. Let's begin now. Welcome back. Destructuring in JavaScript simply means taking objects and arrays and breaking them down to variables. So we have objects and arrays, and don't forget arrays are objects in JavaScript. We're going to take an object or an array, break it down to variables. That's the simplest way to explain what destructuring is. When you're destructuring, there are two concepts that you need to also keep in mind. One, you can have default values that help you to avoid the undefined when you're destructuring. Something else that you should not forget is the syntax for destructuring nested kind of objects is going to be slightly different to the normal way of destructuring. Those are the two most important things that you need to understand. So on my screen here, I have an empty app.js file that is linked to an index.html file. Then we have a live server instance open here. This is where we are going to test the code. And we begin by creating an array of, let's say, colors. And this array will take in three items. So we can have red, blue, green. So those are elements of this array. So to destructure this array, we need to begin with the keyword const, then corner brackets, then the name of the first variable will be first color, the second will be, and the third will be. Then once you've added the names, then we equate them to these colors. So we have simply destructured this array, and we can now access these as variables. So we can do something like first color, and it gives us red. So this now becomes a variable. So we've taken it from this array, then breaking it down or destructured it. And now these are accessible as variables. So this is what you'd call destructuring arrays. So that's the first concept of destructuring. Then the second concept, object destructuring. Object destructuring works similar, but suppose we have an object here which has the name and the age. We can now destructure these as follows. We do const, then we put the curly brackets, that's the syntax, then first we equate it to person. Then in here we can now put the name and the age. So we've taken this object, broken it down, destructured it, that's the word, then to name an age. Then we can do, and we have the name here. Then this causes a problem with TypeScript, so you can call it the name. It's going to kill that TypeScript lint error. So, and it still works. What we've done here, we've broken down this object into the name and age, which now becomes variables that you can reuse in your script. That's how object destructuring works. The other concept that you need to pay attention to when you are destructuring is you can do nested object destructuring. So nested objects destructuring, suppose you have this object here and it has some address. Maybe this guy, he has an address, and this address has a city, and the city is Utopia, and it has a zip code. When you're destructuring this, I'd like to copy this. When you're destructuring, we can destructure, like now the name will be as the name, then the age as the name. But now, when you come to the address, we're going to have a slightly different syntax. We'll have it inside curly brackets as such. Then we put in city and the zip. Then it's going to be the same way to access them, since you can do this city. and it's going to give us utopia. So this destructuring of nested objects is something that you need to pay attention to when you're working with destructuring. The other concept that you should remember when you're destructuring is the concept of default values. Default values. Suppose we have an array of scores of maybe games or some kind of a score. Scores be equal to, then we have 10, 20, and 30. We can just have 10 and 20. Then when we are destructuring, this will be equal to scores. We can set a default value. In the first, we can give it the first score as the name of the new variable. Then the second score. Then, since if we add the third score, it's going to give us undefined. We're testing the third score that we've added since it doesn't exist, so it's going to be undefined. It gives us undefined as we expected. We can give this a default value of 30 to avoid this instance of this case of getting undefined when you're destructuring and we get the value to be 30. So this is a defined value that we are assigning to avoid the undefined when we are destructuring this array. I hope you found this useful, and if you did, do not forget to check out other videos and click on the subscribe button. Thank you. I hope by the end of this video, you now understand the concept of destructuring in JavaScript. If you did, kindly consider giving this video a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. Thank you and see you in the next one.